another screen.
Okay.
And here's the thing is you can, if people comment in YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, we can see it on this screen.
Is that right? That's clever.
So LinkedIn is a little behind. And LinkedIn, I know you watch my show every day. So the Pirate Broadcast is here. And we are actually live today with someone across the pond, as they say. Yes. And we are broadcasting on behalf of everybody in the community. And we want to bring the Pirate Broadcast to you to share interesting people doing interesting things. And Richard is no slouch when it comes to interesting content and comments.
Thank you.
He's had well over 100 episodes every Monday at 1 p.m. And catch him. If you're not connected, get connected. So Richard, good morning. How are you today?
I'm really well, thank you. I'm one part business owner, one part domestic goddess today. I've literally just finished putting potato on a fish pie, and then I'm rushing to the station, then the school run after this. There's a bit of everything today, but otherwise I'm well. Cheers.
Oh, it's one of those things we just have to do. And part of the reason we run our own business or start our own thing or, become a freelancer or entrepreneur of any kind is, I think principally it's around the freedom that we have to adjust our own schedule to our own needs. And, you've talked about this a lot on your show, and the idea and the concept that, we have things that have to get completed. We have responsibilities to ourselves and to our family and to our business. And some of the things that you bring to the table are, we were talking before the show, is consistency. So you have consistent change, and how do you manage all of that, with a family and schedules and everything else? You stay consistent, however there are interruptions, and so how do you balance the consistency versus the interruptions?
I think you got it. And what's really important is like that I've said this before, like the holy grail is flexibility. And if I was 20 and when I was 20 I had no responsibilities and things, very easy. I'm 40 this year and got wife and kids and stuff, so I need to make sure Thank you. It's not for a while, but thank you. I'm still mid-30s in my head, so it's all good. But I'm very much of the opinion that it's all good stuff. I'm certainly not complaining that I get to pick up my children from school and things like that is part of it. But I do think that consistency helps make sure the things that matter get done. And it's all about that, managing expectations. The family know that on a Monday at 1 p.m. UK time, I'm having that hour doing my broadcast. And it's been like that for 3.5 years. We've booked holidays around it, Russ. But it doesn't mean that everything else is rigid. It's like that's a little island. There's a couple of things here and there throughout the week where they get done in the same way as the business has to chill, because sometimes it's like, well, in the morning at this time, I'm doing the school run. So everyone has to be flexible around the schedule. And I just believe that, inverted commas, success isn't just the big bank account, is actually making sure you're being a good dad and good husband and doing all the other stuff as well, and it matters to make sure you don't just weight yourself too much in one direction, because otherwise you drop the ball. It's just important, because otherwise things just fade after a while. Like, last night before bed, I was super gluing a thing together to make a toy work again. And you just got to make sure all the plates keep spinning. And it's fun, right? Who doesn't want variety?
Well, it does give you variety, because ultimately, we're curious beings, and as long as we stay curious and continue to learn, this is an exercise in adapting. Adaptation in business is key, looking at the markets and everything else. And we can learn so much from just our kids, how they look at and see the world and how they observe things. And, it's like when they're 7 and going on 12, it's like, okay, what's the mind shift here? What's the transition in their brains that are taking place?
But I'm fascinated in that, like, and not just for children, but for grown-ups. I'm fascinated so much now by someone's reaction, sure, in the moment, but like, what's preceded that? Why have they got that worldview? Because everything can be explained. If someone explodes at you, if someone has passion about something, if someone's feeling tedious, like life around, whatever it is, and however the children are acting, there's always something behind it. So it's quite interesting to hack back and say, here's why they're acting in this way right now. And it's, when you understand it, it's interesting to watch it in play.
Yeah. And it's fascinating. And the same can be held true for business and the idea that, okay, because a lot of times we only look at the symptom instead of the cause.
Correct.
We see the symptom and it's like, okay, well, just like, well, let's talk, for example, specifics. You have been broadcasting your Monday program for over 3 years. And I suspect when you started, how many people did you have on your broadcast before you started?
Not so many. It was on Facebook, and I was building an audience, but yeah, it was like 8. But it didn't matter. It was good fun to do, I suppose. But yeah, you're right. It was very low.
So the symptom is that, the cause and effect is that if you continue to develop this over time, week after week after week after week, and then ultimately that grows your audience, that grows, more people happen to find you. And the thing that fascinates me is that you never know where they're going to come from. So you probably have an audience around the world, I'm sure.
That's the bit I love the most. And that audience has been migrated to the Entrepreneur Business Group on Facebook. And in turn, whenever we have the live events, we have them all the time around the world, there's that component of the live stream to the group. And I sat watching the from here in the UK, watching the Ottawa event in December, and there's this group of people learning, having their networking event. The other side of the world, a bunch of people there, but I was literally sitting there as someone from Singapore, someone from like LA or whatever it was, people all over, and then we had a Q&A together. Just a big fan of building community, and that requires that consistency. And it's interesting because there was something that stood out. I think it was 2 days ago. There was a thread I was involved with online talking about LinkedIn groups, and then it got into talking about Facebook groups. And the general consensus is our groups aren't all that. They're rubbish. They descend into spam all the time. And I'm like, no, they're not. They're really good as long as you're consistent. You get out what you put in. And if you show up every day and literally are that committed to doing something every day and hosting the party, if you like, you get something from it. So it's the same with anything, isn't it? Like training for a marathon or whatever. You just got to show up each day.
Well, and I think that you're spot on with that, because what you put into it is what you receive. And you have to contribute and add value at every turn in order to accomplish your goals. And in my life, I've seen this over and over again. When I'm in a scarcity mode and like the last thing I'm chasing down some revenue stream of some kind. It's like, it always is evasive. It's always like almost there, but not quite there. And it seems like when you're adding value and you're contributing to the community of any kind, whether it's a group or a live space, when you're contributing to the group, things start showing up in your world.
Yeah, and like my background is selling in the pure sense, and I'm a very big student of human behavior and psychology. I'm not trained in any way, but I've just been on the pitch long enough to understand these things. And one thing's for sure is that there's value, the practical tips and things that, for instance, we give in a live stream, but there's the emotional value as well. And I can just, I always have it on a Monday because it kicks off my weeks. It's the thing I love the most is doing that live stream. But I some weeks, you're just on form and you've got a bit more sass about it, and maybe you have a bit of a fun rant, or you just, you nail a point really well, and you just feel it from the audience as well. And then it's always nice to get off the stream and have the messages, but sometimes you just get that many more, and they're like, oh, that was a really good one today. And you're like, yeah, it was really good. And that emotional value matters too. It lubricates the audience wanting to understand your practical value. It makes them want to lean in more because because this is the human part, right? It's just the fact that you're compelling as a host. And I'm not saying I'm world class host, but those days where I really riff, correctly, it's interesting that translates in this weird way that's, it's not really palpable, but you can somehow feel that people are loving it a bit more. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's exciting because all of a sudden when you're tossing things out and contributing to the community and you get reaction and you get that response. Because, I've shared this with many people and, coach clients on this idea that until you put something out there, you have no feedback. And so, I'm one of these people that, I think about halfway through the process and then I just start creating it. I love the content creation and then I love the feedback and sometimes it's like, okay, well, that didn't work very well. And you still receive an experience from that. You still receive some feedback. And I want to jump in here, Richard, and thank everyone for being here. Rachel, loved your tips this morning. I thought pants were optional. I don't know, just saying. So
I missed this. I want to load this up quickly so I can see it as well.
Yeah. And Lori Knudsen, thank you. Good morning. And Sir Richard, Vicky O'Neill, Lori Knudsen, the Pirate Crew. Yeah, we got the Pirate Crew. Flexibility. I love that. Wendy Galuli. Fan of Richard's, and I'm not in sales. So you have fans, Richard, that are not necessarily focused on sales.
That's fine. You can stay. You're allowed.
Stay.
I'll permit it. That's
no
fine.
Pressure. You don't have to sell anything here. And here's Roger Wilkerson. Hey, Roger.
The big man himself.
What's going on? Gabriel in the house. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. And
loads of people. That's excellent. Wendy Gahilla, watching and in the US too. That's amazing.
Yeah. And so the reality is that we have an opportunity like this conversation here. We're having a conversation, a casual conversation. It just happens to be broadcast on, multiple platforms all over the world. And, consistency has a direct effect on how we can build an audience and a culture around what we're doing.
Yeah.
So what is your experience in that, being consistent? What did you notice and what surprised you in the consistency journal?
So this isn't going to be controversial, but this is something that must be added. I know you'll agree, but it underpins this idea of consistency because there is a myth in there too. And the thing about consistency is that it's dangerous as well as very practical. And what I mean by that is, and I found this to answer your question directly, is that if you are consistent in that you doggedly continue every single day showing up doing the same thing all the time, it doesn't mean you're entitled to any amount, forget success, but any amount of even organic uplift. It's not how it fully works. Consistency is like it's par for the course. It's a minimum level of acceptable performance. It's not the device that grows you. It's the platform it requires. Sitting atop of that is effective community management and distribution of your content. And you go on a live stream and then there's the Instagram story to say I was on the live stream, and then sitting and messaging those people who are in stream here now afterwards saying thanks for showing up, getting into the end. That bit is the bit that levels you up. But so you can't have one without the other, is my point. And I think it's dangerous for some. I don't know if you agree, I'm sure you will, but it's dangerous for some because they think if I just keep showing up and not really doing anything different, there's that definition of madness, of course, from Einstein. But if I keep doing nothing different, then it'll come eventually. And in fact, in the world of, say, digital marketing, in the world of LinkedIn, which I'm sitting on right now, for example, that is front and center. We're seeing it all the time. And so, for instance, corporates will go, well, we'll just post that blog post again then today. And that's that box ticked of social media, day in, day out, literally nothing happening. You need to add something to that consistency, which is getting in amongst the people and talking to them as well. And I think that matters. And you've just shown it just there by pausing for a moment and saying thanks to the people who really make the show, which is your audience, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the fact that we're talking about this because you know, so many people just think, well, I'm just going to continue to post this post. I'm going to send this meme out, and without engagement, it really doesn't mean that much. You know, you have to continue to follow up. And I know for you being in sales, one of the things that moved the needle more than anything is having a relationship with the people that you're working with. You know, unless you're selling a commodity that, you know, has no face, it really is critical that you build a community around your value that you bring to the, and here's the other thing that I think is social media is really, really good at is becoming the resource for the answer. You know, you can actually be on social media, and for years, a lot of people, I built networks here in Houston that I'm, you know, and created a lot of energy around these things, and a lot of people didn't have any idea what I did, because and part of that was by design, because it's like, well, what are you looking for, you know? And I would introduce them to somebody else that could help them, and if I could help them, I could say, well, here's something we could do, and that way you're adding value by being a contributor to solve their problems. It's like, I'm not selling you, you know, I'm not beating you over the head because you need a new website, or you need an email marketing campaign, or digital content. So I think it's really key in the sales process, in life in general, is build a relationship and engagement. And what we're seeing now is the platforms are noticing that, and LinkedIn especially is like pushing towards engagement. You know, they only allow so many things, and so. You know,
but that's how it should be, and it should be that you're rewarded for doing that. And the funny thing is, the way I put it is that you have to take cues from the offline world. You don't sell to someone straight away. You get to know them, because before there's the buyer in a job title in a company, there's the human that needs to interface with you in the human way, and so trust and familiarity matter. And the great thing that social media does is it allows us to condense the amount, so like really kind of put it in an intense way, the fact that people can consume more of you. And that's why video works better than text. Sorry, copywriters, it's more compelling because more of the senses are consuming more of the quote unquote celebrity person, if you like, that you might end up buying from. And I just feel that the great thing about it is that whilst face-to-face is so strong, at the same time, the wonder of social media is that we can drip feed and keep warm an audience of people who potentially may need what we need. And if not, they know that we potentially are someone they could reach out to and speak with. And then we might, as you say, help them connect with someone else. But the trust has to be there. And what it stems from is continued, consistent exposure to someone, even if it's just seeing a video. And much like classically a celebrity on TV or in a film, if you see enough of them, you tend to feel like you have a sense of who they are. And what's happening nowadays, if you look at LinkedIn, is in the business world, people are watching each other's shows. People feel that they know Russ Johns that much more because they get to see what you're like. That's why live wins. Because you're just raw. There's no do-overs or productions. You and I haven't got Snapchat filters on our faces, unless you've got some beard thing. I don't know, but without it, it's nothing. It doesn't look that good these days. The beard must be real. And so I think that you know, it means the I loathe the word overuse. It must be real, but that authenticity thing generally comes through, and so the trust as a platform to reach out to you is there, and the fact that you can accelerate that through social is fantastic. So I love that gives us access to people, and it warms us up in the right way. But people are still behind in that they're not thinking that way, which is so counterintuitive. Because the moment you take the camera or the PC or the mobile away and put the person in front of who, that's how you act. That's the thing, and it doesn't really make sense. But I suppose people want the shortcut or the quick win, don't they?
Yeah, well, we're used to instant gratification. We're used to Amazon Prime, delivered tomorrow, deliver my groceries, everything else. And I want to break out a couple of things, key points that you brought up that I think are critical to share is that, because you've done video for an extended period of time and you're showing up on a consistent basis, if you were to go to a networking event that has any part of your community involved, people recognize you. They already feel as if they know your personality, your position, your thoughts, and your kind of the way you think, and that removes all the awkwardness of the introduction.
Yeah, that irritating bit at the start when you're like, "What's this dude like?" That is literally the play to market and build the events I run. And I've said this 1,000,001 times, but it was literally, what's the date today? So literally 1 year ago to the day, we had our first international event. So that was the New York one. About 40 odd people came, and there was a lot of LinkedIn people. And, everyone's like hugging, like, "Oh, it's so good to see you," kind of thing. And everyone is like, it's like an old friends reunion.
Yeah.
And I remember looking around that evening because everyone's like, "Oh, let's take you out, Richard. Let's go out in New York." They took me to an Irish bar. I'm like, "What am I doing here?" So it's kind of funny that we've gone to the States. So I was like, "I need a hamburger, surely." But anyway, it was good because I remember looking around like 9, 10 o'clock at night thinking, like, all these people are so familiar. The faces, like, it's like, there's Christine Robinson, there's Jamie Cohn, there's Judy Fox, there's Kurt Mercadante. And it was just like, this is so weird. And yet, because there's part of you that's like what happened? How do we get here so quick? Because it'd been in a year. But then equally, it's like everyone felt comfortable. And all the events are built on that. And that's the point, because otherwise they're the awkward school disco thing where everyone just stands around the edge not speaking to each other. And we're grown-ups. Come on. So it's nice to do it this way, I think.
I think it's a brilliant move in order to accomplish that goal. And I'm one of the experiments that I have with Pirate Broadcast is the idea that this platform and this technology and this idea could be extended to other avenues, business owners, industries. Think of what it would be in terms of value for someone in a large organization that wants to develop culture, and have a voice of the CEO or, somebody from HR saying, "Hey, if you need this help, you can go here. If you need this help," and have stories internal to the company and organization. And I think that's the next stage that we're going to, that's where I'm that's where I'm growing into.
Think how cohesive it would make a team. And I know it's not entirely the same, but for instance, on Tuesday, I was with a company in London, and so many of them have watched the live show and they know the videos and things like that. And it means that me as the external, and there's a company with hundreds of people in it, I can walk around. It's not like I'm not like high-fiving everyone. It's not quite red carpety. But the point is that they've seen the videos, they're aware of me. And so, like, as someone who's like, I'll run non-stop training sessions all day, we can speed up with things, and everyone feels like they kind of know me a bit more. And it allows us to gel so much better. They know what they're getting. They know how I'm going to speak to them. They know kind of the subject areas. And it's a great way of doing it. I totally agree. And it doesn't even need to be internal, but certainly the industry leaders speaking to the world and therefore their company is a great idea. And look, you see it with Richard Branson, Elon Musk anyway. Yeah. It's just there's the fear in front of it, annoyingly, and the awkwardness of what if I say something wrong? But that soon goes away when you realize that actually the upside is so tremendously high that it's a good idea to share. Yeah. And if you look at it from a branding perspective, let's use that term instead of the human sharing themselves perspective, compare Blue Origin with SpaceX. Yeah. For an instance, I'm a big fan of both heads of those businesses. But what SpaceX has done well is bring to the masses in a cool way the live stream of every single rocket thing. And, it's warts and all, and it's all the things that go wrong and right as well. And it's like, and everyone's feeling part of the journey. And to a degree, Blue Origin's not done that. And so we're not feeling like we're gelling as much with their journey. So sharing consistency again, and that's what matters.
Yeah, I totally, transparency and visibility. I mean, we're all human. We're all, soaking up the same sunshine. Yeah. There's no difference.
There's sunshine here, Russ. This is the UK. I mean, it's like the middle of the night most of the time, it feels like. Just cloud cover.
Having spent years in the Northwest, I understand. Right. cloudy days. However, the sun is just on the other side of those clouds, Richard.
No, that doesn't make me feel better. It's like through the thick cloud, there's a nice sunny day. Great.
So I want to kind of tighten up this message, because I know that you one of the things that I love about what I'm doing with this show that I think is a little bit unique is the fact that it's live, it's consistent, it's on 4 platforms, streaming at 4 platforms right now.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, by the end of the day, I'll have the transcription of the show, and it'll be a podcast, which will then all be broadcast out on all the platforms.
Content, yeah.
So for yourself, afterwards, you have another piece of content that you can share out and distribute to your community.
Yeah.
And also the fact that, a few years ago, this was nearly impossible to accomplish. And so what we're seeing is the availability is increasing and improving. The quality and the stability is getting to the point where we can trust it a little bit more.
The tech kind of works now, which is good. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what we have is now, because like yourself, you're in it and you're doing this. Not everybody is in it and understands everything and the complexity and the simplicity between, what you can do and what is possible, So I really want to share that with everybody and add that value to the community and say, hey, just get started, give yourself some feedback.
Yeah.
And just realize that the first episodes and, we're learning. It's a process.
Plus, no one's watching them anyway. It doesn't matter. That's the thing. That's what people need to understand is that in the first 7 or 8, when you're getting over yourself, you haven't got that much of an audience, and no one cares if you're not looking at camera properly, and no one cares if you wipe your nose. It's just and that people prefer the authentic. That's what works now. If you're being all polished, then people can't relate as much. So you're totally right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's a lot of opportunity out there, and I will continue to pursue it. And thank you so much for being here, Richard. It's great. So one thing you want to leave with the world today, what's the nugget of knowledge you're going to drop today?
Okay. Well, I'll keep it tight with what kind of thematically what we talked about today. And I really feel that people should ask themselves if they're hesitating or fearing putting themselves out there. And that even means just writing a post, let alone video or live, but really to do with video, for instance. If people are fearing it, especially when they're trying to build a business behind this and using marketing or whatever, they need to ask themselves what matters more. And is it the safety of their emotional state? Or is it the health of the business? And how I overcame it and got on with video was by not being confident that I've got this and I'm going to smash it. It was that no matter how fearful I was, the business required it, or the business would thrive with it. So that has to supersede how I feel. And some of the businesses watching represent a service or product that can directly and positively impact people's lives. So for good, really change people's worlds. So to not do this kind of thing, because you as an individual fear how you feel and perceptions, is to withhold wonderful value from people who really might need it. And I think we need to supersede that level of stuff, over and above how we feel in the moment. And that's how I squared it with myself. You know what? Suck it up and do, because it matters more for the bigger picture.
Yeah, it's better for the big picture, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Richard. I love the fact that we're connected, and I appreciate the fact that we're able to have a conversation on the Pirate Broadcast. And as you know, kindness is cool. Smiles are free.
They are.
And you enjoy the day.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope to see you really soon.
Take care.
Cheers.